If you want to get that which true inner heart spirituality can give you, then there are two things that you can get. And these two things are the fruit. These two things are the ultimate absolute in itself, and it's also the ultimate absolute of spirituality. I mean, this is the ultimate realization, it's the ultimate fruit, it's that which everything is about, it's the end of the path of Ramana Maharshi, it's the end of the path of Nisargadatta Maharaj. So this is what it's all about. And there are many gurus today in this world who are just an interpretation of their own understanding of Nisargadatta Maharaj or of Ramana Maharshi. The famous ones on YouTube, they are only that. They have understood the Ramana Maharshi, so they become a guru. Or they have understood a saying of Nisargadatta Maharaj, so they become a spiritual teacher. So this is all that it is. So I will give you the shortcut here. I will give you that which it is in its authentic reality, so to speak. So the two things that you can get from true inner heart spirituality, that which we call the yoga of the self, are these two things. The first and the foremost and the most important thing is the ultimate absolute in itself. And what is the ultimate absolute? The ultimate absolute is that which we cannot describe. It's the ultimate void. It's the original point of that which is prior to the world. It is the world, or no, it is the space before space. It is the invisible, non-existent space that gives spaciousness its possibility for being spaciousness. The ultimate absolute is that which everything stands on. The ultimate absolute is that which gives space its possibility for being space. So the ultimate absolute, or Parabrahman, you can say, is space before space, or it's the ultimate voidness, or the negation of anything, the non-existence of space, which is necessary for spaciousness to occur, because there is a layer of anti-space, you could say, before space occurs as space. The complete voidness. And this is what the world stands on. It is that which perception stands on. It is that which our beingness stands on. It's that which space relies on and is carried within. The world exists within this ultimate absolute reality. We can call it the ultimate reality, as is a popular term in Zen. Ultimate reality, but I prefer the ultimate absolute, because the ultimate absolute points to the real thing, to the real ultimate absolute. And when you see that this ultimate absolute is the origination of your own self, and your own self is the Brahman self, it's the Atman Brahman self, which means the experience of your own self. This Atman Brahman self stands on the ultimate absolute, or it has the ultimate absolute as an environment around it. So your soul stands on and lives within the ultimate absolute. So in order for you to create a fruitful paradigm, you could say that your soul or your Brahman self gets nourishment from the ultimate absolute. You get support. You get support from the ultimate absolute. The ultimate absolute is the God behind God. It's the absolute origination point. It's and it's the place from which we experience. Also, the ultimate absolute is also the place from which we experience, because that which makes perception possible, or that which perception stands on, we cannot actually see that. We are, you could say, we are the light inside of us, the unseen, the invisible light, not light as lightness, as anything that has the characteristics of light, but we are that which makes perception possible. And this is also can be seen as the ultimate absolute, the environment around the Brahman self or the Atman self. So this is the whole deal. This is the whole yoga. It's the whole practice. It's the whole fruit of the path of Ramana Maharshi and of Nisargadatta Maharaj. And the only thing that remains after this insight, the only thing that remains after this insight is the ability to abide in the inner heart self, to abide in the inner heart Atman self that stands on and relates to the ultimate absolute, that is fed and nourished by the ultimate absolute, by the ultimate voidness around the experience of the inner heart true self, the Atman self, the Brahman self. So there is a duality in non-duality teachings, and the duality is simply the duality between Brahman and Parabrahman. But that is, of course, a coherent, or it should be a coherent unity. It's a mother and child, it's a father and child, it's God and Jesus, it's the mother and child relationship. It's the father and child relationship, the father and son relationship. The son is the soul, and the father is the ultimate absolute. So this is the Advaita Vedanta fruit. And when you surrender to the true self, to that which is not, when you surrender to the self which is a non-self, but it is a non-self in the way that it gives way, it opens up the possibility for your true naked experience of your own beingness. It makes it possible for you to experience your I amness, your beingness, your I amness. So this is the manual, this is the setup, this is the architecture within the deepest fruit of spirituality. And anyone can complain about it or argue about it, but it just won't do anything, because this is it. What I'm telling you now, this is the ultimate realization when it comes to realizing the inner heart self within and the ultimate absolute, and also the thing that I'm giving to it by myself, by my own heart, the relationship between the ultimate absolute and the Atman, Brahman self. So this is all that it is. And when, so you, let's say, just for as a model or as a map, let's say that there are 3 circles in this life. The first circle is the ultimate absolute, that which is not, but which must be there in order for anything else to exist, that which is prior to any kind of state, the stateless state, the self behind the self, the consciousness behind no, not the consciousness behind no, but that which is prior to any kind of awareness, that which is prior to any kind of recognition, that which is prior to any kind of space and spaciousness, the ultimate absolute, that which doesn't exist and which exists only because it doesn't exist, and that which has to exist simply because it doesn't exist, because if it didn't exist, there would be no world, because this ultimate voidness is necessary for spaciousness to occur as space, as I've said in many of my treatises on space. But so let's say the map, we have 3 circles. The first one is the ultimate absolute, the Parabrahman state, that which is prior to absolutely anything, that which cannot be perceived. We cannot comprehend it. We can comprehend it, but we cannot experience it, and we can experience it in a subtle way with our inner heart, yes, of course. the vibration of it. We can experience with our inner subtle heart, we can experience the ultimate absolute in a sense, but it's a little bit difficult to say because it will end up as a projection, because it will become something that is projected by the mind. So when we talk about it, so that's how that is. The first circle is that, the ultimate absolute, that which is prior to absolute everything else. The state in nature which cannot be perceived because it is that which makes perception possible, in a sense. It is that which makes space possible. It is the underlying hidden voidness of space that must be there for spaciousness to occur inside it, and thus the possibility for the universe and nature to take place in this space. That is a prerequisite. This voidness has to be there in order for the universe to come into existence. So that is the ultimate absolute, is the first circle. The second circle is our own experience, and that experience, in a spiritual sense, is the experience of our own beingness. That is the yoga. The yoga is the experience of the inner heart, self, is the experience of our own I amness, is the experience of our own beingness in the inner heart self region, in the inner heart self area, in the inner heart self region. So that is the inner heart experience of itself, so to speak, or the inner heart's experience of the ultimate absolute, you could say, or the inner heart's experience of our own beingness as an emotional beingness, the experience of our own inner heart. No, you could say the experience of our emotions and our thoughts too, really, but the best thing would be to say the experience of our own inner heart, to make it pure and naked and subtle. And then the third circle that comes after that is everything that has to do with psychology, psyche, emotions, and thinking. That is the human program. The third circle is the human program. It's the human being in its psychological reality, in its psycho-emotional reality. And as we are in this psycho-emotional reality, the best model for healing ourselves and for relating to ourselves is, as I think, and as I've mentioned before, the IFS method, the internal family system method, or methodology, or model, because we consist of parts. In this third circle, where we are the human being as we are, incarnate, in flesh, in body, in brain, in nervous system, in emotions and thoughts, we have a lot of parts and a lot of reactions and a lot of programs inside us that leads us to interpretations and to emotional reactions and to trauma memory and projections and things like that. And if we don't include this third circle, if we only have the two first, which most of the spiritual disciples want, they want only the first and the second circle, but that's spiritual bypass. And if you want that spiritual bypass, you can get it. So in many ways, Nisargadatta Maharaj and Ramana Maharji was in spiritual bypass, but they trained so long, they trained so long in order to abide in that state that it became their own whole self, so to speak. And that's, of course, wonderful if they want to be like that, but that's actually nearly more like a religious practice. That means that you're going towards God. I mean, that you're living towards that which is God, which of course is. And then God is the ultimate absolute, or God is that which is prior to consciousness, or God is the inner heart Atman self in itself, and the inner child is that which experiences this or whatever. So, but I mean, if you only stay with the first two circles, which many people want because they want to get rid of the psychological self, They want to get rid of the human being, so to speak, the personhood. But I don't think that's a good idea. That leads to an unhealthy spiritual bypass that is not good for us. So we have to accept that we are a living human being in this world, living in a body with a brain and a nervous system, and a psychology and a psyche. And this psyche, as I've explained before, is a result of a code that lies deep within every brain, deep within every psyche in this world. And this code is 30% biological heritage. It is genes and DNA and everything that we got from biology through our parents. And 70% it is the way that our program, the way that our mind and human program reacts to experience. And the way that we react to experience is decided by this code that is inside of us. So when this code is established in us after the first 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of life, we react according to this code. This code will decide how we react in the world. And our reactions will then become the programs in our brain, and this will become the personality, the kind of person that we will become. And it will be the foundation for all kind of problems or non-problems in our life. These programs that are the result of the way that our code is reacting to experience will be the foundation for how we live our life and how we live with ourselves in this world. And so it will decide how well or how badly we will live. I mean, how neurotic we will become, how mentally ill we will become. Not necessarily, because trauma can occur at any given time in life, and trauma can give mental illness for sure, not only through the PTSD that is produced by the trauma because of the human program and the human mind-brain system, but because of interpretation models and projection models that we create according to the trauma that we have experienced, or actually just to the experiences that we have experienced. So these three circles are the three circles of life. And in order for not getting confused about this, I think that we just have to accept the third circle. We are living in the third circle. But the source, or the intestine, so to speak, the inside, the inner reality of this third circle, let's say that we are the totality of the third circle. And the totality of the third circle is the human program and our code and our programs. It's our whole, total, complete psychology, our emotions, our thinking, our personality, the way that we react, interpret, and project everything. So that is the totality. And then, within this totality, there is the heart or the stomach or the inner environment, the inside of the body, and this inside is, or could be based, could stand on the experiential platform, of our inner heart self and of the ultimate absolute and of that which I've talked about previously on the other two circles. So the big totality circle that we are as a human being are incarnate in flesh as living human beings in this world. We have access to these resources, which are the first and the second circle. And these two circles that I described earlier on, they are resources for us to live a true life, an authentic life within an experiential reality, which is experiential because we ourselves experience it. If we do that, then of course. If we don't do, then we cut it out. Then we don't use this model. But if you're into spirituality and into inner heart, if you're into inner heart spirituality, then you will like to relate to the things that I've been talking about, and you will perhaps even come to completely realize it, which is very, very helpful, which means that you will have no fear of death, because death is only the inner heart self going into the ultimate absolute. Death is only the ultimate absolute, only that. It's the true space, the true space behind space, so to speak. So these are the three circles of life as I see it from my point of view. And to learn to live with the third circle, with the totality circle, I really truly suggest to understand the IFS model, to understand all the different parts that we have and that we can relate to in a way to calm our nervous system down, to become more flexible and holistic within our totality of our psycho-emotional reality. And then we will get fed, we will get our feeding, we will get our nourishment from the true, authentic platform and arena on which we stand and live, which is constituted by the two first circles that I mentioned, the ultimate absolute and the inner heart experience of our own beingness, and our own inner heart experience of our own I amness. Amen. And this is the model of the three circles, where everything in many ways are explained, as I see it, as a very valid and helpful model for life in this world. Thank you.